Maya Ortiz stared at her phone in disbelief. As the notification count climbed higher and higher, friends and former colleagues messaging her with screenshots of the unhinged texts her ex-boyfriend had sent to what appeared to be everyone in her contact list. 3 weeks ago, she had moved to Seattle for a fresh start after ending a toxic 2-year relationship with Derek. And apparently, he had decided that blasting her private business to the world was an appropriate response to her blocking his number. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the messages people were forwarding to her, each one more embarrassing than the last. Derek had painted himself as the victim, claiming she had destroyed him, that she was cold and heartless, that she had cheated on him with multiple men, none of which was true. He had even sent these messages to professional contacts, people she barely knew, and her stomach churned at the thought of what they must think of her now. She sat on the floor of her new apartment, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, tears streaming down her face. This was supposed to be her new beginning. She had landed a job as a senior event coordinator for a prestigious hospitality firm, finally escaping the suffocating relationship that had slowly eroded her confidence and sense of self. Now Derek was trying to poison every aspect of her life, even from 300 miles away. Her best friend Cassidy had called her immediately, furious on her behalf, suggesting she post her own response to set the record straight. But Maya had always been private, and the thought of airing her personal drama publicly made her feel sick. Then her phone buzzed with a notification that made her heart stop. Someone had tagged her on social media, and when she opened it, she saw that one of Derek's mass messages had somehow made its way to a public forum. Someone had screenshotted and posted it online, asking if anyone knew this Derek guy because his behavior was unhinged. The post was gaining traction, and Maya wanted to disappear. She was about to delete all her social media accounts when another notification appeared. This one was from a verified account she did not recognize at first. Owen Reeves. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but she could not place it until she clicked on his profile and her breath caught. Owen Reeves was the founder and CEO of Cascade Industries, one of the largest real estate development companies in the Pacific Northwest. His net worth was estimated at several $billion, and his face had been on the cover of business magazines more times than she could count. And he had just posted a public response to the screenshot of Derek's message. "I have known Maya Ortiz for 3 weeks," Owen had written. "In that time, I have found her to be one of the most professional, kind, and genuine people I have had the pleasure of working with. This pathetic attempt to smear her character says everything about the person sending these messages and nothing about her. Do better." Maya read the post 3 times, her mind spinning. Owen Reeves knew who she was. They had never met. She had been working on coordinating an event for Cascade Industries, but all her communication had been through his executive assistant. She had never even spoken to him directly. Yet here he was, defending her to his 3 million followers. The post was already going viral, and the comments were overwhelmingly supportive. People were calling Derek out, praising Owen for standing up for her, and suddenly the narrative had shifted entirely. Her phone started ringing immediately. Her boss, Linda, was on the line, her voice bright with surprise. "Maya, did you see what Owen Reeves just posted? This is incredible. He never gets involved in personal matters, ever." Maya was still in shock. "I do not understand. How does he even know who I am? Are you kidding? You have been working directly on the Cascade Heights project. He reviews every detail personally. He must have seen your work and been impressed. This is huge for you, Maya. Huge." After hanging up with Linda, Maya sat in stunned silence. Within an hour, Derek's messages had become a cautionary tale about toxic exes, and Owen Reeves had become an unlikely hero in the story. Her phone was flooded with supportive messages from friends, colleagues, and even people she had not spoken to in years. The humiliation she had felt earlier had been replaced by a strange mixture of gratitude and confusion. She knew she needed to thank Owen, but the thought of reaching out to a billionaire CEO felt impossibly intimidating. Still, it was the right thing to do. She drafted and deleted 5 different emails before finally settling on something simple and sincere, sending it through the official Cascade Industries contact form since she had no direct way to reach him. Mr. Reeves, I cannot begin to express my gratitude for your public support today. Your words meant more to me than you could possibly know. Thank you for your kindness during what has been an incredibly difficult situation. Respectfully, Maya Ortiz. She did not expect a response. Men like Owen Reeves had assistants to handle these things, and he had already done more than enough. But 20 minutes later, her work email pinged with a new message from an address she recognized as his personal executive account. Maya, please call me Owen. No formality necessary. I meant every word. I have been reviewing your work on the Cascade Heights project, and your attention to detail is exceptional. I would like to meet with you in person to discuss the event plans. Are you available tomorrow at 10? Her heart hammered in her chest as she read the message. A personal meeting with Owen Reeves. This was not standard protocol. Event coordinators typically worked through multiple layers of management, but she was not about to turn down the opportunity, especially after what he had just done for her. I will be there. Thank you again, she typed back, trying to keep her response professional despite the nervous energy coursing through her. That night, Maya barely slept. She researched everything she could find about Owen Reeves, trying to understand the man who had so publicly defended her. He was 32, only 4 years older than she was. He had built Cascade Industries from the ground up after inheriting a small construction company from his father and transforming it into a real estate empire. He was known for being brilliant, demanding, and intensely private. There were no scandalous headlines. No messy breakups splashed across tabloids. In interviews, he came across as thoughtful and measured, passionate about sustainable development and creating spaces that brought communities together. The next morning, Maya arrived at the Cascade Industries headquarters 15 minutes early, wearing her most professional navy dress and hoping she looked more confident than she felt. The building itself was a masterpiece of modern architecture, all glass and clean lines with living walls of plants throughout the interior. She checked in with the receptionist, and within minutes, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and an efficient demeanor approached her. Maya. I am Rebecca, Owen's executive assistant. He is ready for you. Follow me, please. They took an elevator to the top floor, and Maya's nervousness intensified with each passing second. Rebecca led her to a spacious corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and Puget Sound beyond. And there, standing by the windows with his back to her, was Owen Reeves. When he turned around, Maya's first thought was that photographs did not do him justice. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair that was slightly tousled as if he had been running his hands through it. His eyes were a striking blue-gray, intelligent and focused, and when he smiled at her, it was warm and genuine. Maya, thank you for coming. He crossed the room and extended his hand, and when she shook it, his grip was firm and confident. Please have a seat. She settled into one of the leather chairs facing his desk, and he sat across from her, his posture relaxed. I want to address yesterday first, he said. I hope I did not overstep. Rebecca showed me what was happening online, and I could not stand by and watch someone try to tear you down when I know the quality of person you are. You barely know me, Maya said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. I mean, thank you truly. You saved me from a nightmare, but I am confused about how you even knew who I was. Owen leaned back in his chair, a slight smile playing at his lips. I review every major project personally. The Cascade Heights launch is one of our most important events this year. I have read every proposal, every plan, every detail you have submitted. Your work is meticulous. You think about the experience from every angle, anticipating problems before they arise. When Rebecca mentioned your name in connection with that post yesterday, I did not hesitate. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks. I had no idea you were that involved in the details. Most people do not. I prefer it that way, but I wanted to meet you in person because I have a proposition. He stood and walked to the windows, gazing out at the city. Cascade Heights is going to be the crown jewel of our portfolio. Luxury condominiums, retail spaces, a rooftop garden designed by an award-winning landscape architect. The launch event needs to match that caliber. I want you to lead it entirely. No more working through intermediaries. You will have a direct line to me and complete creative control. Maya's mind reeled. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, the kind of project that could define a career. I do not know what to say. Yes, absolutely yes. Good. Owen turned back to her, and there was something in his expression she could not quite read. I should warn you, I am very hands-on with projects I care about. You will be seeing a lot of me over the next few months. There was nothing inappropriate in his words, but something about the way he said them made her pulse quicken. She pushed the feeling aside. This was business, nothing more. Over the following weeks, Maya threw herself into planning the Cascade Heights launch with an intensity that surprised even her. Owen had not been exaggerating about being hands-on. They met multiple times a week, sometimes in his office, sometimes at the actual site, walking through the spaces and discussing how to showcase them best. He challenged her ideas, pushed her to think bigger, but he also listened to her input in a way that made her feel truly valued. What surprised her most was how easy it was to talk to him. Despite his wealth and status, Owen never made her feel inferior. He asked about her background, her career path, even her life outside of work. She learned that he had grown up in a working-class neighborhood, that his father had been a carpenter who taught him the value of building things that lasted. He had put himself through college working construction jobs, and even now, with all his success, he still visited job sites and knew the names of the workers. One evening, they were doing a final walkthrough of the penthouse suite that would be the centerpiece of the launch event. The sun was setting over the water, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and Maya stood at the window, momentarily forgetting about work and just taking in the beauty of it. "This view never gets old," Owen said quietly, coming to stand beside her. They were close enough that she could smell his cologne, something subtle and woodsy. "This is why I do what I do, creating spaces where people can experience moments like this." She turned to look at him and found him already watching her. The moment stretched between them, charged with something unspoken. Maya's heart was racing, and she knew she should step back, maintain professional distance, but she could not seem to move. "Maya," Owen said, his voice lower now, "I need to be honest with you about something." She held her breath, waiting. "When I defended you online, it was not just because I had reviewed your work. I had actually seen you in person the week before. You were at a coffee shop near the office, sitting by the window with your laptop. You were so focused, completely absorbed in whatever you were working on. I remember thinking I had never seen someone look so passionate about what they were doing. When Rebecca told me your name, I knew exactly who you were. Maya's mind spun back to that day. She had been working on preliminary ideas for the Cascade Heights event, completely unaware that anyone was watching her. I have tried to keep things professional, Owen continued. You work for me, and I never want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable. But I cannot keep pretending that spending time with you is just about work. I look forward to our meetings more than anything else in my week. I think about you when I should be focused on a dozen other things. And I needed you to know that before we go any further. Maya's breath caught. Every logical part of her brain was screaming about the complications, about the professional risk, about moving too fast. She had only been in Seattle for a matter of weeks. She had just escaped one relationship. This was her boss, essentially, even if he was not directly her employer. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw something that made all those logical arguments fade into background noise. She saw genuine feeling, vulnerability, hope. This was not some powerful man playing games. This was someone taking a real risk by being honest about his feelings. I think about you too, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I have been trying not to, telling myself it is just gratitude or professional admiration, but it is more than that. Owen's expression shifted, relief and something deeper flooding across his features. So where do we go from here? Carefully, Maya said, a small smile tugging at her lips. I do not want to mess up this project and I do not want to rush into something without being sure, but I would like to see where this goes, outside of work. How about dinner? Owen asked. Tomorrow night. Not a work meeting, just you and me. I would like that, Maya said, and when he smiled at her, she felt something shift in her chest, a door opening that she had thought she had locked for good. Their first official date was at a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, far from the downtown business scene where Owen might be recognized. He had chosen it deliberately, he told her, because he wanted their first evening together to be private and free from interruption. They talked for hours, the conversation flowing as easily as it did when they discussed work, but more personal now, more revealing. Maya told him about growing up in California, about her close relationship with her mother and two younger sisters, about how her father had passed away when she was in college, and how that loss had shaped her. She told him about Derek, about the slow erosion of her self-worth during that relationship, and how she had finally found the courage to leave. Owen listened with an intensity that made her feel truly heard, and when she was done, he reached across the table and took her hand. I am glad you got out, he said. And I am glad that garbage he tried to pull brought you into my life more directly, though I wish you had not had to go through it. He told her about his own past, about losing his father to a heart attack 5 years ago, and how that loss had motivated him to build something that would have made his dad proud. He told her about the pressure of running a billion-dollar company, the loneliness that came with that level of success, how hard it was to know if people valued him for himself or for what he could provide. That is why I was watching you at that coffee shop, he admitted. You had no idea who I was. You were just completely yourself, focused on your work, occasionally smiling at something on your screen. It was refreshing, real. When he drove her home that night, he walked her to her apartment door but did not try to kiss her. Instead, he brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle. I meant what I said about taking this carefully. You set the pace, Maya. I am not going anywhere. Over the next month, they fell into a pattern. During work hours, they maintained professionalism, though anyone paying close attention might have noticed the way Owen's eyes lingered on her, or how Maya's face lit up when he entered a room. Outside of work, they explored Seattle together. He took her to his favorite bookstore, a cramped used bookshop where the owner greeted him by name, and seemed unsurprised that the billionaire developer spent his free time browsing poetry. She introduced him to her passion for photography, and they spent a Saturday wandering through Pike Place Market while she captured images of vendors and street performers. They went hiking in the mountains, and Maya learned that Owen was happiest outdoors, away from the trappings of his wealth and status. He told her about his dream of developing sustainable communities that worked with nature rather than against it, about housing projects that could be affordable without sacrificing quality. She loved seeing this side of him, the idealist underneath the businessman. The Cascade Heights launch was rapidly approaching, and the final preparations were all-consuming. Maya was simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated, knowing this event could make her career. Owen had kept his promise about giving her creative control, but he was there for every major decision, and his confidence in her abilities bolstered her own. One night, working late at the site to oversee the installation of the art pieces that would be displayed throughout the space, Maya finally hit a wall. She had been going non-stop for weeks, and suddenly, her eyes were burning with tired tears. Owen found her sitting on the floor of what would be the main gallery space, her head in her hands. "Hey," he said softly, sitting down beside her. "What is wrong?" "I am terrified I am going to mess this up," she admitted. "This is so important, and there are a million details, and what if I forgot something critical?" Owen put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "You have not forgotten anything. I have watched you plan this event with more thoroughness than I have seen from people with twice your experience. It is going to be incredible." "How do you know?" she asked, leaning into him. "Because you care," he said simply. "That is what makes you exceptional at what you do. You care about every single detail, every person's experience. That kind of dedication always shows." She turned to look at him, and the expression on his face took her breath away. He was looking at her like she was the most important thing in his world, and suddenly she knew she was falling in love with this man. Maybe she had been falling since that first meeting in his office, or maybe even since the moment he had defended her publicly without a second thought. "Owen," she whispered, and then his lips were on hers, gentle at first, then deepening as she responded. His hand came up to cup her face, and she felt the careful control he had been maintaining start to slip. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I am in love with you," he said, the words raw and honest. "I know it is fast, and I know we said we would take things carefully, but I cannot keep it to myself anymore. I am completely in love with you, Maya." "I love you too," she said, and saying it out loud felt like stepping off a cliff and finding out she could fly. "I did not think I could feel this way again. I did not think I could trust anyone like this, but I love you." They stayed there on the floor of the empty gallery, holding each other as the city lights twinkled through the windows, and Maya felt a sense of rightness she had never experienced before. This was what love was supposed to feel like, safe and exhilarating all at once. The night of the Cascade Heights launch arrived with perfect weather and even more perfect execution. Maya had orchestrated every element flawlessly, from the catering to the lighting to the live music that floated through the spaces. The guest list included celebrities, politicians, business leaders, and press from major publications. Owen stayed close to her throughout the evening, occasionally leaning in to whisper his pride in her ear. When he took the stage to give his speech about the vision behind Cascade Heights, he surprised everyone by calling Maya up to join him. "This project represents everything I believe about creating spaces that enrich lives," he said to the crowd. But it took someone exceptional to bring that vision to life in a way that exceeded even my highest expectations. Maya Ortiz is that person. The event you are experiencing tonight, the way every element comes together to tell a story, that is her genius. Please join me in thanking her." The applause was thunderous, and Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Owen took her hand, and in front of all those people, he looked at her with such open affection that anyone paying attention would have known this was more than professional admiration. The event was deemed a massive success. The next day, articles praised not just the development but the launch event itself, calling it a new standard for the industry. Maya's phone was flooded with job offers and congratulations. Linda called to tell her she was being promoted to director level, with a significant raise to match. But the best part was when Owen showed up at her apartment that evening with Thai takeout and a bottle of champagne, collapsing onto her couch with a satisfied exhaustion that matched her own. "We did it," he said, pulling her down beside him. "You did it," she corrected. "I just helped showcase what you built." "No," Owen said firmly. "We are a team. That is what I realized over these past months. Everything is better when I am working with you. Not just the results, but the process, the whole experience." They spent the evening celebrating in quiet comfort, and when Maya fell asleep with her head on his chest, she felt a contentment she had not known was possible. The next few months were a whirlwind of success and deepening love. Owen made it clear to everyone at Cascade Industries that he and Maya were together, refusing to hide their relationship. Some people had opinions about it, but Owen's response was simple. Maya had earned her position through talent and hard work, and anyone who suggested otherwise could take it up with him directly. No one did. Maya moved out of her small apartment and into a beautiful condo in one of Owen's buildings, though she insisted on paying rent despite his protests. She was maintaining her independence, she told him, and he respected that even as he made it clear he would love nothing more than for her to move into his penthouse. They traveled together when his business took him to other cities, and Maya discovered a love for experiencing new places with someone who saw the world the way Owen did. He showed her his projects in other states, explaining his vision for each community, and she fell even more in love with his passion and integrity. 6 months after the Cascade Heights launch, Owen took Maya back to that same penthouse suite where they had first acknowledged their feelings for each other. The space had been sold almost immediately, but Owen had arranged with the new owners to borrow it for an evening. "Why are we here?" Maya asked as they took the private elevator up, though she was smiling at the secretive look on his face. "You will see," was all he would say. When the elevator doors opened, Maya gasped. The entire penthouse was filled with candles, hundreds of them, their light reflecting off the windows and creating a warm, magical glow. And there, in the center of the main room, was a single chair facing the windows and the sunset view beyond. "Sit," Owen said gently, and Maya did, her heart pounding because she suddenly knew what was happening. Owen came to stand in front of her, and even though he was a man who commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, his hands were trembling slightly as he reached into his pocket. "Maya," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "3 weeks after you moved to Seattle, I defended you online because I could not stand by and watch someone try to hurt you. I barely knew you then, but something in me recognized something in you. Over the months since, I have fallen so completely in love with you that I cannot imagine my life without you in it. You have changed everything for me. You have made me remember why I started building in the first place, why I cared about creating beautiful spaces and meaningful work." because it is all meaningless without someone to share it with. He dropped to one knee, and Maya's breath caught, tears already streaming down her face. I know we have not been together that long by traditional standards, Owen continued, but I have never been more sure of anything in my life. You are my partner, my best friend, the person I want to build a life with. Maya Ortiz, will you marry me? He opened the small velvet box, revealing a stunning diamond ring that caught the candlelight and threw rainbows across the walls. But Maya was not looking at the ring. She was looking at the man she loved, this incredible person who had appeared in her life at exactly the moment she needed him, and who had shown her what real love looked like. Yes, she said, her voice breaking with joy. Yes, absolutely yes. Owen slipped the ring onto her finger and then pulled her out of the chair and into his arms, kissing her deeply while tears of happiness ran down both their faces. When they finally broke apart, he was laughing, a sound of pure joy. I was so nervous, he admitted. I know it is fast. It is perfect, Maya said firmly. Everything about us has been perfect from the start. They stayed in that penthouse until long after the candles had burned down, talking about their future, about what kind of wedding they wanted, about the life they would build together. Owen told her he wanted to start a foundation focused on affordable housing, and he wanted her to help him run it. Maya talked about her dream of opening an event planning company that specialized in meaningful celebrations, not just corporate events. They dreamed together, planned together, and realized that everything was possible when you had the right person by your side. The news of their engagement spread quickly, and there were plenty of people with opinions about the speed of their relationship. But Owen and Maya did not care. They knew their truth, and that was all that mattered. Maya's mother and sisters flew up from California to celebrate, and her mother took one look at Owen and pulled Maya aside with tears in her eyes. "This is what I prayed for you to find," her mother said. "Someone who looks at you the way your father looked at me. Someone who sees all of you and loves every bit." The wedding took place 6 months later in a small ceremony at a historic estate outside Seattle. They had kept the guest list intimate, just close friends and family, despite the pressure to turn it into a major social event. Owen had been firm about that. This day was about their love, not about business or publicity. Maya walked down the aisle to Owen with her mother on one side and her two sisters on the other. And when Owen saw her in her simple, elegant dress, he openly cried. His best man, his college roommate and still his closest friend, handed him a handkerchief, and the guests laughed affectionately. The vows they exchanged were personal and heartfelt. Owen promised to always support her dreams, to be her partner in every sense, to love her through every challenge and celebrate every victory. Maya promised to stand beside him as he built his empire, to remind him of what was important when the business threatened to consume everything, to love him exactly as he was. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Owen pulled Maya close and kissed her with such tenderness that there was not a dry eye in the crowd. At the reception, Owen gave a speech that had everyone laughing and crying by turns. He talked about watching Maya at that coffee shop, about the moment he had seen Derek's messages and known he had to defend her, about falling in love with her over project plans and site visits. "The best decision I ever made," he said, looking directly at his new wife, "was responding publicly when she needed someone in her corner, because it brought her into my life in a way I could never have imagined. Maya, you are my forever, and I will spend every day proving that I am worthy of being yours." Maya's speech was shorter but equally powerful. 3 weeks, she said, referencing the now famous line from Owen's original post. That is how long Owen had known me when he stood up for me against someone who was trying to tear me down. He saw something in me that I had almost forgotten was there. He gave me back my confidence, my joy, my ability to trust. And then he gave me his heart. I am the luckiest woman alive." They danced late into the night, surrounded by the people who mattered most. And when they finally left for their honeymoon in Italy, Maya looked back at the celebration and marveled at how much her life had changed in less than a year. The honeymoon was magical. 2 weeks of exploring ancient cities and tiny villages, eating incredible food, and just being completely absorbed in each other without the demands of work pulling them apart. Owen was relaxed in a way Maya had never seen, happy to wander aimlessly and discover whatever they happened upon. They talked about everything and nothing, made love in beautiful hotel rooms with windows open to Italian nights, and solidified the foundation of their marriage. When they returned to Seattle, they moved into Owen's penthouse together, and Maya finally agreed to let go of paying rent now that they were married. She also officially launched her own event planning company, with Owen as her first and most enthusiastic investor. She named it Ortiz Occasions, keeping her maiden name professionally, because that was the name she had built her reputation on, and Owen supported that completely. The company took off quickly, thanks to Maya's proven track record and her expanding network of high-profile clients. But she was selective about the projects she took on, only working with people and companies whose values aligned with her own. She also made it a point to mentor young women in the industry, remembering how important it had been to have people believe in her. Owen launched his affordable housing foundation with Maya as co-director, and together they started breaking ground on projects that would provide quality homes for working families who had been priced out of the city. It became their shared passion, using Owen's resources and Maya's organizational genius to create something meaningful. A year after their wedding, Maya discovered she was pregnant. She told Owen on a Saturday morning, handing him a tiny pair of baby shoes over breakfast, and his reaction was everything she could have hoped for. He picked her up and spun her around, laughing and crying at the same time, and then immediately started planning how they would convert one of the spare bedrooms into a nursery. The pregnancy was smooth and happy, and Owen was the most attentive husband Maya could have imagined. He went to every appointment, read every book, and talked to her belly every night before they went to sleep. When Maya's ankles swelled, he rubbed them without complaint. When she had cravings at midnight, he went out to satisfy them. He was all in, completely devoted. Their daughter, Emma Rose Reeves, was born on a sunny spring morning, and the moment the nurse placed her in Owen's arms, Maya knew she was witnessing the beginning of a beautiful father-daughter relationship. Owen looked at that tiny baby with such wonder and love that Maya fell in love with him all over again. Being parents changed them both in ways they had not expected. Owen started leaving work earlier, refusing to miss bedtime. Maya restructured her company so she could work partially from home. They fumbled through the challenges of new parenthood together, supporting each other through sleepless nights and moments of doubt. When Emma was 6 months old, they had a small gathering at their home to celebrate. Maya's mother held her granddaughter and looked at Maya with such pride. "You built a beautiful life," her mother said. "Your father would be so proud of the woman you have become." That night, after everyone had left and Emma was asleep in her crib, Owen and Maya stood on their balcony overlooking the city. His arm was around her waist and she leaned into him, feeling completely content. "Do you ever think about that day?" Owen asked. "When Derek sent those messages to everyone?" "Sometimes," Maya admitted. "It felt like the end of the world at the time, but it brought me to you." 3 weeks, Owen said, echoing the words that had become something of a touchstone for them. "I had known you for 3 weeks, and I was already sure you were someone special. Now I have known you for years, and you still surprise me every day with how incredible you are." "We are pretty lucky," Maya said, turning to face him. "We found each other at exactly the right time." "No," Owen corrected gently, kissing her forehead. "We found each other and then we chose each other every day. That is what makes this work. The continuous choice to love, to show up, to be partners." Maya thought about that as they went inside to check on their sleeping daughter. He was right. Love was not just about the magical beginning or the big romantic gestures. It was about the daily choice to put each other first, to communicate even when it was hard, to forgive small failings and celebrate small victories. Over the next few years, their life continued to evolve and grow. Ortiz Occasions became one of the most sought-after event planning companies in the region, and Maya expanded to include a team of talented coordinators working under her guidance. Owen's foundation built over 500 affordable housing units across 3 states, with more projects in development. They balanced their professional successes with their commitment to family, and when Emma was 3, they welcomed twin boys, Jack and Matthew. The penthouse, once a symbol of Owen's bachelor success, became filled with toys and laughter and the chaos of 3 small children. Owen thrived in the chaos, and Maya often found him on the floor building block towers or reading stories with exaggerated voices that made their kids dissolve into giggles. They bought a cabin in the mountains for family getaways, a place with no cell service where they could disconnect from work and just be together. Those weekends became sacred, a chance to reset and remember what mattered most. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Owen recreated their first date at that small Italian restaurant. Maya's mother had the kids for the night, and it was just the 2 of them, like it had been in the beginning. 5 years, Owen said, raising his glass to toast. Best 5 years of my life. Only going to get better from here, Maya said with a smile. We have got at least 60 more ahead of us. I am counting on it, Owen said, and the look in his eyes told her he meant it with everything he had. They talked about their dreams for the future, about the company they would continue building together, about watching their children grow up, and giving them the kind of love and stability they both valued so deeply. They talked about traveling once the kids were older, about all the places they wanted to see together. But more than anything, they talked about how grateful they were for the path that had brought them together, for the pain that had pushed Maya to move to Seattle, for Owen's instinct to defend her publicly, for the 3 weeks that had been just long enough for him to recognize something special when he saw it. "Do you think Derek ever realizes what he did?" Maya asked, something she had wondered occasionally over the years. "I doubt it," Owen said. "People like that rarely do. But honestly, I do not care. He is part of your past and a part you have moved so far beyond that he is irrelevant now. All that matters is where we are and where we are going." He was right, Maya knew. Derek was a footnote now, nothing more. She barely thought about him anymore, and when she did, it was without anger or hurt. She had healed so completely that those wounds did not even ache anymore. Later that night, lying in bed with Owen's arms around her, Maya thought about everything they had built together. The businesses, the foundation, the home, the family. But more than all of that, they had built a partnership based on respect, trust, and genuine love. They had built something that would last. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness. "I love you too," Owen murmured back, his breath warm against her hair. "Forever and always." And Maya knew he meant it just as deeply as she did. This was their happily ever after, not because everything was perfect, but because they had found each other and chosen each other and committed to doing the work that real love required. The next morning, they went to pick up their kids, and Emma immediately started telling them about all the cookies she had made with Grandma. The twins were sticky and happy, showing off drawings they had created. They all piled into the car, loud and chaotic and absolutely perfect, and Maya looked at Owen over the noise and mess. He caught her eye and grinned, and in that moment, Maya knew with absolute certainty that this was everything she had ever wanted, even when she had not known what to want. This family, this man, this life they had created together from a foundation of mutual respect and genuine love. 3 weeks. That was how long Owen had known her before he changed her life forever. And now, years later, she could not imagine any version of her life that did not include him at the center of it. They drove home through the Seattle streets, the city that had given them both so much, and Maya felt a profound sense of gratitude for every twist and turn that had brought her to this moment. For the courage to leave what was not working. For Derek's terrible decision that had inadvertently brought Owen into her life more directly. For Owen's instinct to defend her when she needed it most. But most of all, for the love they had found together, the kind of love that sustained through challenges and celebrated victories, that grew deeper with each passing year rather than fading. The kind of love that made everything else possible. As they pulled into their building's garage and started the process of getting 3 excited children upstairs, Owen grabbed her hand and squeezed it. No words were necessary. They both knew exactly how lucky they were, and they both knew they would spend the rest of their lives honoring that luck by choosing each other, every single day. That night, after the kids were finally asleep after multiple requests for water and bathroom trips and one more story, Maya and Owen collapsed onto their couch together. He pulled her close, and she tucked herself into his side, fitting perfectly the way she always did. "What a day," Owen said with a tired laugh. "What a life," Maya corrected, and she felt his chest shake with quiet laughter. "Yeah," he agreed, "what a life." They sat there in comfortable silence, the city lights twinkling through their windows, and Maya reflected on how far she had come from that scared, humiliated woman sitting on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by moving boxes. She had reclaimed her confidence, built a successful business, found true love, and created a family that filled her heart to bursting. None of it had been easy, exactly. There had been challenges and adjustments and moments of doubt. But all of it had been worth it because she had done it with Owen by her side, and that made all the difference. "Hey," Owen said softly, tilting her chin up so she was looking at him. "Thank you." "For what?" Maya asked, confused. "For taking a chance on me. For believing in us when it was still new and uncertain. For building this life with me. For everything." Maya kissed him, slow and sweet and full of promise. "Thank you for seeing me when I needed to be seen, for defending me when you barely knew me, for loving me so completely. For being exactly who you are. We are quite the team," Owen said with a smile. "The best team," Maya agreed. And as they headed to bed that night, walking hand in hand through the home they had made together, Maya knew that this was what happily ever after really looked like. Not perfection, but partnership. Not absence of challenges, but presence of someone who would face them with you. Not a fairy tale, but something real and solid and true. 3 weeks had been enough for Owen to recognize something special. 5 years of marriage had been enough to prove he had been right. And a lifetime together stretched ahead of them, full of possibility and promise, built on the foundation of genuine love and unwavering commitment. That was the real ending to Maya's story. Not the dramatic public defense, though that had been the catalyst. Not even the romantic proposal or the beautiful wedding. The real ending was this. A life built together, day by day, choice by choice, filled with love and laughter and the kind of deep contentment that came from truly knowing and being known by another person. Maya fell asleep that night with a smile on her face and Owen's arm around her waist, exactly where it belonged. And she knew, with the kind of certainty that came from lived experience rather than hope, that this was just the beginning of their forever.